Right, welcome to the session, which is Coordination for All using BIM 360 Glue and Navisworks. My name is Vijay Raina. I'm from Autodesk based in Dubai. With me is my colleague Hany, Shabana.
Good afternoon.
So in next 45 minutes, we'll be talking through the different modes of coordination. So when it comes to coordination for all, it also involves why is it necessary to do coordination early before you go to a coordination meeting. So we'll be discussing a couple of solutions here. We'll be discussing some of the workflows here. And then we're going to go and show you how exactly it works. So the first one we're going to be discussing here is going to be BIM 360 Glue. So what exactly is BIM 360 Glue is a cloud-based service which delivers more complete, accurate, connected digital information across the project lifecycle to accelerate the project delivery and reduce the construction project risk. Now, what exactly happens here is when you look at the BIM 360 as a family of products, there are a lot of them there, which starts from pre-construction till the commissioning and handover. And there's a BIM 360 Docs, BIM 360 Glue, BIM 360 Layout, BIM 360 Plan, BIM 360 Field, as well as Building Ops. So different solutions are getting used in different time frame of a life cycle of a project. So what we are looking here is that when it comes to cloud-based product, when it comes to product which is cloud-based, so the access is from a web browser, for example, so you can access the data on a web browser, or you can access the data from an iPad. So an iPad, it can be an offline mode as well. Now, the data goes from, let's say, a user's computer, let's say Revit itself, to cloud here. So the cloud is an enterprise class data reliability solution from an Autodesk point of view. So the data from your computer to the cloud is encrypted in the same fashion the way banks do the encryption on the accounts you access to. So next thing what I'm going to look here is what exactly is BIM 360 Glue used. So streamlining the BIM project review and coordination workflows. And then later on, we're going to also see here how this is going to be used for use with Navisworks as well. So from design coordination point of view, quality programs, safety programs, documents to field, and equipments and handover commissioning, as well as reports or doing geometric controls and all that. So the BIM 360 has all of it. Now, Glue takes care of first portion, which is design collaboration and coordination. And then the rest of it is like BIM 360 field and all that. Now, why is BIM 360 Glue there when most of our users are already using Navisworks? Any Navisworks user here? All right, so I can see good hands over here. So you would agree with me that Navisworks, you do coordination, you do clash detection, right? So then always a question is asked to us as an Autodesk, why we have something called Glue, which does something similar. So answer to that is, when you do coordination today, you're doing coordination maybe in your office, separately than other people. So the way you look at a problem is not the same way and another company looks at the same problem. So typically what we do in Glue environment is that the people start creating the information different days, and they look for the information from different users altogether till it is a submission day, which can happen, let's say, on the Thursday and all those type of things. And then there is always a coordination meeting and all those things. Now, what happens in the Glue environment is that when we have Glue in the workflow, we're working on a Glue platform with architects, consultant, architects, structural engineers, or MEP engineers. We do not go for a coordination meeting where we find a problem. The whole scenario with the Glue is you go to a coordination meeting to find solution, to discuss how you're going to resolve those particular issues. Now, what we are looking here in the Glue point of view is a workflow where a file from a Revit, we send a Revit file to Glue, and on the Glue platform, we're able to do the design review on a multidisciplinary model point of view. We can assign, design, and resolve those conflicts. So we can have those conflicts assigned to a people, to a company, and they can define the results. As well as later on, When we are looking to do, for example, Navisworks, we can do 4D or timeliner or the quantification. I can open the same model later on in Navisworks to continue with other features we are required to do. So I'm now going to show you what we mean by BIM 360 glue here. All right, so glue is... All right, so this is how BIM 360 glue looks like on a platform. Can I just duplicate?
Yeah, make it duplicate.
All right, so the file what you see here is actually being sent by Revit. So from Revit, I can simply say glue a file, and I got a file here. Now, typically what happens in this scenario, I can have an architecture file, like in this case, this particular file, or I can have an MEP file, or a structure file, an architecture file, or I can hide all of them. So this is my MEP portion, that's the structure on top of it, and that was an architecture. Now, typically what happens is, an architect, during the design phase of the project, sitting in their own office, they go and upload or send a file to glue from their office. Similarly, a structure engineer sends their file to glue as well as MEP. Once those files have been sent to a database which is created in glue, we can select all those files and create what we call here as a coordination model, or a coordination model here. Now, these files over here are merged together. In the Navisworks point of view, they have been merged, they have been appended together. Now, I have a view here, what I'm going to look for. So I can look at all these properties here. The first thing, I can select an object, and I can look for the properties of the object. So you can look at whatever the Revit properties were there. You can look at these properties will also be available here, whether the reference levels of them or the Revit type of these objects. That's a rectangular duct. This is an element ID of that object, or these are the item properties. So all your Revit properties will be also available here. So from a checking point of view, you can check all those Revit metadata inside glue. Now, apart from that, what I'm looking here is this file. Maybe I want to hide it and all that. So what we have done previously in this file is we have created some views. Now, before we go to create a view, let me just give you a background of this view. For example, during design review, you find a solution or you find a problem for somewhere here. Typically, to tell an architect that there is a staircase is hiding somewhere, or there's a problem with the door or window, you typically write an email, you typically send a drawing attached to it, you try to explain in an email and all those type of things. Now, what we're going to do here is that if I already have created a previous view, like I can simply go back to our previous views here, or I can have another view which was created. Or what I can do is I can simply go and zoom into a particular view. Now, if I want to tell this view, or I want to share this view to someone, let's say design director, design manager, and someone, I can simply say, I want to add this view. I can name this view here. Let me just call it as Istanbul, for example, and I save this view. After I save that view, what I can do next is, I do not need to write an email. I simply select this one and say, let this be looked by Hany. So I can simply send this to Hany. What's going to happen is, it will send an email to Hany, or multiple people. If you need to send it to multiple people, they receive an email notification. They click on the link. It will bring them back to the same view you have saved here. So do not need to explain how you have seen a problem and how others can see that problem on their workstations. Now, next thing what I'm going to look here is, what if I want to do something we call as a markups here, or I want to create those RFIs here. So I already have some of those markups created previously, so if I want to navigate to one of them, I can simply go and create them. Now, how do we do it? So similarly, I can go and say I want to create a markup. So I can choose the color, I can choose the style, for example, maybe like this. Even I have a freehand. So I can do a freehand here, and I can go and add a text here. I could say, for example, skylight issue. So issue can be anything, so I can just skylight issue. I'm going to save that. So if you have created such a markup on a drawing, it can be, over here, how do you tell an architect that there is an issue for a structure engineer? Typically, you again write an email, you attach the drawings, you attach all those documents here. But what I'm going to do here is I simply notify to Hany. And I tell Hany that this is the problem, you need to look at that. Now, again, Hany receives an email, and in that email, what's going to happen is something like this. So if you look at here, we have one issue here. There was a dimension which was created by Hany. So he showed me that there's a dimension between these two ducts is about 3130. Now, I looked at, he sent me that markup. I looked at it. I told him in the reply that this needs to be 3200 millimeters, not 3130. So I do not need, again, to write an email to him. I do not need to send any models to him. I do not need to send any drawing to him. And most importantly, I do not need to explain him where exactly it is, what the problem it is. So you can see it there. He asked me to check it. I give a reply directly here. And later on, he can go back and reply further. For example, he's going to say, okay, 3200, agreed. He's going to do it in the next revision of the file or next submission. So all the communication happen live. It happens on one single source of truth. So you can relax that all those information which was asked to you or which is provided by you is captured in one location. So you do not need to worry about who has done it, how it was done previously, and all those type of things. Now, apart from this, what I'm going to look here is if I want to look at the history of my project. So all those things, whatever different people have done in the project. Somebody created a view. For example, I created a view using Hany's login ID. Previously, I have created a solution here. I have added a view here. So even if I go on this one, it will automatically go and bring me there. So I can see the history, what people have created into that environment. So single source of truth. The communication is very important when everyone has the same information available. So you can look at from a different angle, you can look at the different perspectives, share that information and all that. Now next thing what happens here is that I can simply go and I'm going to create, for example, some of those clashes. So once those clashes are up and running, let's say I'm going to delete the existing ones. I want to create a new clash here. So you can say, for example, you want to do a clash between an MEP and structure. Again, something similar what people do in Navisworks. You can simply say, I want to do it, for example, not for everything, maybe on level 2. Same thing for structure, not for everything, just for level 2. You can say, for example, this is Istanbul to just differentiate it. This is MEP versus structure. And I'm just going to say find clashes. So this is what people do before they go for a meeting. So before you go for a coordination meeting or weekly or bi-weekly meeting, all the architects, all the engineers would have seen what's happening with respect to structure, what's happening with respect to MEP. So you know exactly the problems. I click on one of the clashes. It will zoom into that. Sorry. So I can see that this clash is between a light fixture and a structure, beam. Similarly, I have another one here, I have another one here, and I have another one here. Now, what typically you would do is once you find a clash, I can simply go and do a markup on top of it. Let's say I'm going to choose, let's say, a blue color. This is a clash here. So I can add that clash, put a text if I need to, save this clash. Now, once I save this, next thing what I can do is I can simply say notify. So we can select multiple people and tell them there's a clash between those two elements. Again, you do not need to send a report. You do not need to send a file. You do not need to send an email. You simply notify. Once you notify the people, they receive an email, they go to Revit, and in the Revit, it will automatically highlight all the clashes which has been submitted to them. So you can, for example, group these clashes based upon who it has sent, who it was sent, or you can group them based upon this one, or I can group them based upon structure. So in this case, it's telling me there's one structure element which is clashing 17 MEP elements, one clash. Similarly, there is one concrete beam which is clashing with 3 of the MEP. So you can group the clashes. Now, if you solve one structure problem, you can overcome 3 of those MEP issues. So all those things are automatically done here. Once it is done, you can always select all those clashes if you need to, and you can save this report, or you can archive this report in a PDF format. It will generate the clash report for all the clashes, whichever it has happened, and clashes will be generated one by one. Now, in this case, I have 32 clashes which have been grouped. So those group clashes will be available as a document which you can save for the use in the future. So you can say, on this date, there were 31 clashes, and you can easily document those clashes happening. Now, what's going to happen is,
Double click.
I think I saved it somewhere else.
It's on the top. On the top.
Yeah. So you can see this report here. So you can have all those clashes. There is an issue with the color over there. I don't know. Here it is fine, but there is some issue. So you can look at this clash one by one. You can see that there's this clash. It has item 1 and item 2 clash. You can simply look at those beams and all that. So this is for the documentation purpose, because you might want to capture that weekly clash report and bi-weekly clash report. So you can have those clash reports generated. The clash reports will be available for the future references and all that. Now, once these clash reports are generated, then later on, also, if you need to do further analysis on top of the model offline on your computers or on the Navisworks, so we can get this file to the Navisworks. So I'll hand over to Hany, who's going to show you how we continue the same thing inside Navisworks, connecting the same glue model inside Navisworks. Over to you, Hany.
Thank you, Vijay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let me go to my part directly. Okay, perfect. So we saw now BIM 360 glue, which, by the way, for those of you who attended the morning session, or the morning session, actually the session before this by IGA, the model viewing part on the iPad and the field was done by glue. So in order to view the models inside the field and see all the properties and have access to all these benefits and the data-rich model in the field, that was the glue component of it, in addition to BIM 360 field. So we saw here the great benefit of BIM 360 glue that it brings to the pre-construction stage, where you can actually reduce the coordination meeting or the coordination week in a multiple firm design project or complex, and make all people collaborate together in a very effective way. But this is not everything. You can add to these benefits to the construction workflow by integrating Navisworks with BIM 360 glue. I see here some people who are using Navisworks already. Is anyone using glue? Anyone in the room here is using glue? Hands up. So it's pretty much new technology to you. If you have any question, we'll be happy to answer at the end or even after our session, even Vijay or myself. So what are the extended benefits that is being bringing by integrating Navisworks and glue in the pre-construction stage? This is a live example of the era of connection that Autodesk is leading and introducing to the market now. We are showing you how Autodesk is connecting its desktop application with the cloud offering in a seamless way to improve your day-to-day workflow and productivity, and ultimately improve your profitability. We can actually group the differentiator or the added benefits to BIM 360 glue and Navisworks integration in these 5 points. Let's start by the first one. I hope here I'm going to do it live. So let me go to Navisworks. What you are looking here at is actually, I need to do a duplicate again. Let me go to duplicate mode. So now you can see. This is Navisworks. What you are looking here now is the exact same model that Vijay was looking at from the glue model, which means that in Navisworks, there is a tight integration with the glue model. These are the models on the cloud that you can read directly here. Where are they coming from? When you install Navisworks, by default, you will get BIM 360 plugin. This plugin will allow you to access the project and start bending or appending the models shared by different team members on the cloud. What does this mean to you? It means that your models will stay up to date with every version updated in Glue. One thing you need to know, BIM 360 Glue is taking care of all versioning. So when you publish a new model from Revit, a new version will be created in Glue, and you can roll back to a previous version if required. What it means for the extended team who want to use Navisworks for the extra benefits that I'm just about to explain, every time the model will get updated, either it's a single model or a merged model with a different, like a multidisciplinary model, architectural, structural MAP, the model will be updated here. You will always be looking at the latest and greatest version of your BIM model in Navisworks itself. So no more sending files around. People who are working with BIM 360 Glue are looking at the same model that will be used in Autodesk Navisworks. Not only this, we saw before that Vijay created some shared views. These shared views can also be shared here. Do you remember the Istanbul view that Vijay created? I can also access the same view from Navisworks. So it's very tight integration here. I can also add more views if I want to send some notification for someone using BIM 360 Glue. This tight integration will help you to use the same information no matter where are you accessing this information from. There's someone can be in UK and another one in Turkey here, and you're both integrating and working together on the same project using the same up-to-date information. And you can even exchange some point of views or RFIs using different applications such as Navisworks and Glue itself. Let's now jump to the next point. That was the clash detection. In the background, Autodesk Navisworks and BIM 360 Glue are sharing the same core technology of finding clashes. But what extra can be brought by using Navisworks? Navisworks clash detection is a kind of advanced clash detection engine here. So, in BIM 360 Glue, you notice something. You can only perform what we call hard clashes. The main differentiator inside Navisworks is two things: the flexibility to select the model objects to perform the clash detection or design coordination, and second, the extra type of clashes that can be performed. What does it mean? The first thing, let me do it here by example. I have here a clearance clash test. Before I talk about it, let's see here about the ability to use a search sets to classify my model and select objects no matter where it does reside in my BIM model. I can use the properties in my project to filter certain objects and find them. For example, if I go here to my search sets, I have created something to select only elements in my roof that the mechanical equipment in my roof. So if I go here, here. The mechanical equipment only level 3. If I go to my home view and say hide unselected only mechanical equipment that does exist in my third floor will be selected. How does this happen? By searching and filtering certain information inside my model. Here I'm looking at my mechanical equipment that resides in my level 3. This way of excuse me. This way of filtering the model makes it very powerful and easy to find these elements and run the clashes together. This will happen on the architectural, structural, and MAP model. What's also exciting here is that this can be your company template. It's according to your company standard. So if you have a naming convention in place, you can save these search sets and using it multiple times in different projects. So you can have a project template and you don't have to create this every time you do it. The second way and the flexibility. So the first item was the flexibility to find or classify your model. The second thing is the ability to run what we call a clearance clash. In BIM 360 Glue, you can run only physical clashes. these are two elements clashing together physically. How about the clearance clash? Let's say for the mechanical maintenance purpose later on in the project, you need to make sure that your equipment is within a certain distance or from the nearest object near to it. Let's say the equipment above the ceiling need to be within a certain distance from the roof above it. This kind of clash detection cannot be performed in BIM 360 Glue. However, it can be performed in Navisworks. So what I have done here, I have just selected a couple of the mechanical equipment in the level 3 with, I want to check that no equipment is within 250 millimeter or 250 centimeter from the roof. I simply run the test, and then I will find here. So now I get 8 clashes available for me. And these are clearance clashes. If you go to the right here to look at the properties, you see it's a clearance clash, and also I have a minimum distance. Negative here means it's actually these elements are clashing together. However, if I go to this element, you will see here that these two elements are actually close to each other by less than the 250 centimeter I identified or that is required by the designer. So I can find it and I can solve it. One thing here very quickly is to know that the ability to group the clashes is actually more flexible, which means you can manually select and group clashes. Unlike Glue, you have only 2 options, from one model to another or from the second model to the first one. Here you can make groups by manually select certain clashes and group them for resolution. So you get more flexibility to resolve clashes of a real project. The second thing that differentiates the way you can manage clashes in Navisworks is the ability to control the visibility. What it means, you can hide other elements to focus only on specific items. Of course, you can add markups. I'm not gonna go into deep details. You can dim others. You can choose auto reveal, and even you can do here by color coding. You can filter it by item 1 with one color and item 2 with a different color, or you can go by status. So according to the status of this clash, you will represent your clashes here. One thing that I want to mention, maybe some of you, I don't want to say most of you, but some of you might not know, is the ability to control the model visibility itself. If you go here to your viewpoint, you can control how do you want to represent your model. You can represent it in a different way, the wireframe, the fully rendered, the shaded view. So you have different ways to examine your clashes in order to reach the best visibility or the best view that you can communicate this clash to the team member. One thing also that you might know, when you do the dim others here, if you go to Navisworks options, under tools, you go to the clash detective, you can control the type or the colors that you want to use to represent the first one and second one. A practical application here, for example, any items related to the architectural model, I want to represent it always in red, and any item in a clash test appear or related to the structural model, I want it in blue, and the MEP model in green. So it's kind of driving a standardization in your project. You can do this in Navisworks. Something else is this little option here. Actually, I didn't know that it does exist until I used Navisworks for some time. Use the wireframe for transparent dimming. You can see here that I'm using the shaded view, but I can also move to a wireframe view if I want to hide everything else and really concentrate on my clashes. Okay, of course you can add comment, do, etc. What extra advanced things you can do in the clash detection is actually reporting capabilities. Vijay presented to you the ability to create reports out of BIM 360 Glue. But these reports are not customizable. You will get whatever the system will provide it to you right now, unless you know an API and you want to do extra customization. Inside of Navisworks, you have a greater flexibility to control what information here, what's the content of the clash report that you want to extract. You can export one test or multiple tests at a time. And also, you have the flexibility to create your report in multiple formats. An HTML, XML, or a text, or save the results as viewpoints. So one example here, just to show you the difference, is to export it to an HTML format on my desktop. And Navisworks will directly export this current test here. And this is my current clash that can be opened in any web browser very easily. So you can see here the amount of information varies. You have very detailed report. You have even the snapshots that's coming with each clash. And if you added a red line or markup, it will be reported here. OK. That was related to the advanced clash detective management that can be done in Navisworks. And don't forget, the important part, we are looking at the exact same information in BIM 360 Glue. If at any point in time, the architect who is sitting in UK uploaded a new model, next time you open Navisworks session, it will load the latest one. It will show you that the clash detection is outdated and you need to rerun the clash in order to find what has been resolved or if there are extra problems that has been added. OK, great. What else? The next thing is the ability, actually, to do rendering. Inside of Navisworks, Navisworks utilizes two things: Autodesk rendering engine and the material library that is available across all Autodesk products. Autodesk Revit, Autodesk 3ds Max, etc. So you have here the ability to experience or to change the material very easily. Let me go here to one of the saved viewpoints. In order to see one thing. Let me go to the lighting. Headlights. What you actually have here is a carpet as part of your architectural model. What if you want, so let me go to selection, select my structural model, and hide for better visibility. I have here one type of carpet. If I go to my rendering tab and go to Autodesk rendering, what if the construction team need to change this type of carpet or apply a new material to one of the models? Does they have to go back to the architect and ask him or her to do this? Absolutely not. Because you have the same material engine, the same material library here, you can simply drag and drop one of the material and put it here and immediately start examining how this will affect your model. Okay? You can, of course, run a rendering here either on your desktop or send it to the cloud and utilize the power of the cloud, or you can simply discuss this on a Navisworks model with your client or with the rest of your team member. You can do this to the carpet, you can change the finishes of the wall, or you can change the finishes of your concrete walls, for example. So simply drag and drop, and immediately you get a different color, or you get the different material applied to your model object. The other thing you can do also is the ability to add light. Let's take an example of a spotlight. I want to add a spotlight that is, for example, from here and pointing towards this direction. Immediately, Navisworks will show you how this will look like. I'm the shading. I have my full lights. I can start turning off and on the lights available. This is the latest one I have added. And I can immediately see the effect that this light can bring here. See? I can start examining. Of course, when you render your model, this will be taken into account. So these are some of the extra benefits available here. What else is available for you? We go here, headlight only. So we have seen the extra benefits that can be added by using this information inside of Navisworks. Next, you can use what we call a model-based quantification. A quantification workbook is something very easy that lets you use the data or the accuracy of information available inside the BIM model in order to extract your information. This is a very easy tool to use. Let me hide, first of all, the architectural model, for example, and let's have the structural model available. It's really a matter of drag and drop. So by creating a quantification workbook, going to the foundation, this will be your company standard. It is the same exact way that you want to extract your information for construction. The powerful here in Navisworks is that it's very flexible. You can group more than elements together. unlike Revit that you need to create a report for each category only. Here you can create it in a very flexible manner. For example, here, let me go to special foundation. I have here pile caps, and I really want to extract these pile caps in the project. You simply select one of the pile caps, select the rest of same type, and drag and drop to the model, and see here I have automatically extracted 48 objects in no time. If I go here to my shaded view, you see that it also will get a color coded to tell you which object has been extracted and has been extracted in quantities and which object is still there. If I actually make this a little bit bigger, you will see all the information extracted from the model. What else can be done here? If this model gets updated in the future, you have a change analysis option. This change analysis will see the quantities that has been extracted, analyze it, do the heavy lifting for you, and automatically will highlight all the elements that has been changed so that you can update your quantification workbook, or you can reject this update and redo it again. One of the things that is available in Navisworks, quantification takeoff, is that it supports the BIM workflow as well as the 2D workflow, which means if you still have part of your project available in 2D only, in 2D CAD, you can take the quantities or take off the quantities in a single quantification workbook here. We don't have time, unfortunately, to view it, but if you have a 2D drawing, you have different tools to measure lines, to measure areas, fills, etc., as you will have in any different QTO application that is designed for 2D workflows. Last but not least, let me go back here to my original model appearance and unhide all. Last but not least, for the benefit that Navisworks can bring to the pre-construction workflows is the ability to visualize your schedule. Navisworks here, through the timeliner, integrates with multiple planning applications. This includes MS Project or Primavera P6 if you want, or even a simple CSV Excel file. By importing your application or your project schedule here, planners can visualize how their project will be executed. So they can easily communicate the plan, they can easily communicate what is going to happen in the project, and later on they can produce a plan versus actual reports. Linking is very easy. I can do here actually apply a rule to link my model element to my project and simply go to simulate and then start what we call a 4D simulation, which is the 3D BIM model plus the time plus the cost associated with each task coming from Primavera or MS Project or whatever planning tool you are using here. Once I'm ready, I hit run. And then you have a 4D simulation. This kind of capability doesn't exist with Glue. Yet, you are using the same or utilizing the same Glue models available on the cloud for all the team members. If the models get updated, this will maintain its integrity and you will have the same information saved here. So that was the 4D simulation. Very quickly, if I go back to my PowerPoint. Actually, I have reached the end of my PowerPoint here. And just to summarize for you, these here are all the extra capabilities that can be reached by using Navisworks or integrating Navisworks with BIM 360 Glue in the pre-construction workflow.